battle with Steppenwolf had ended in what seemed like a hollow victory for the Justice League. The monstrous General of Apocalypse lay defeated, his lifeless body sprawled on the floor of the now quiet nuclear facility. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg stood in solemn relief, though none could shake the feeling that something was missing. The camaraderie they'd shared felt thin, the team disjointed. Each member silently contemplated their next steps, unsure if they would ever come together again. As the League began to part ways, reality itself seemed to ripple. Orange sparks lit up the air, forming glowing portals. Strange figures in dark uniforms emerged, their glowing batons humming ominously. The first to notice was Superman, whose super hearing picked up the unusual hum. "Everyone get ready," he shouted, turning to face the incoming intruders. The rest of the League prepared for battle, but these were not enemies they recognized. One of the TVA agents, a tall, imposing figure, raised a device and scanned the team. Timeline variance confirmed. Subject 2017 Justice League, he announced in a monotone voice. Pruning authorized. "What the hell is this?" Batman growled, pulling a batarang. Before anyone could react, the TVA agents moved with precision and efficiency. Flash attempted to speed around them, but was struck by a baton, his body dissolving into orange particles. "Barry!" screamed Cyborg, firing his sonic cannon at the agents, only to see the blasts absorbed by their shields. Wonder Woman charged forward, her lasso of truth snaring one agent, but she too was overwhelmed. "This isn't how it ends," she cried as her body was pruned and vanished. Aquaman roared in defiance, swinging his trident, but three agents subdued him simultaneously. He dissolved in a burst of orange light. Cyborg fell next, trying to shield Superman, who unleashed his heat vision in a last-ditch effort to protect his teammates. But even the Man of Steel was no match for the TVA's technology. With a final burst of orange light, Superman was gone. Amid the chaos, Batman activated a smoke bomb and disappeared into the shadows. The TVA agents scanned the area, but found no trace of him. Bruce Wayne, still reeling from what he had witnessed, emerged from a stolen portal device he had grabbed during his escape. The vast, sprawling structure of the TVA took his breath away. Giant monitors displayed countless timelines, branching and twisting in infinite directions. Bruce's sharp mind struggled to process the scale of what he was seeing. "You're not supposed to be here," came a calm, drawling voice behind him. Bruce turned, his fists clenched, to face Mobius M. Mobius. "Where are they? Where's my team?" Bruce demanded, his voice steady but cold. Mobius sighed, gesturing for Bruce to follow him. Reluctantly, Bruce did, his eyes scanning every corner of the surreal facility. Mobius led him into a room with a massive screen, showing clips from the Snyder Cut timeline. Bruce saw himself working with the League more cohesively, forming genuine bonds and preparing for Darkseid's eventual invasion. He saw Martian Manhunter visiting him, the Nightmare Future, and other events that never occurred in his timeline. "This is the timeline that was meant to be," Mobius explained. "Your 2017 timeline. It's a mistake. A weaker story with no real consequence. It had to be pruned." Bruce clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "You call my team's lives a mistake? They're not just some data on a screen." Mobius didn't flinch at Bruce's anger. "You don't get it, do you? We're protecting something bigger than you or your team. The sacred timeline must flow as intended, or everything falls apart." "Let me guess," Bruce retorted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're playing God for the greater good." Mobius tilted his head. "Something like that. But here's the thing, Bruce. You're still here because we need you. There are other timelines, other anomalies, and you might just be the one to help us set them straight. Bruce's mind raced. He didn't trust this organization, but if working with them meant learning more about their operations, and possibly finding a way to save his team, he had no choice. "Fine," he said at last. "I'll help you, but when this is over, you'll tell me everything." Mobius smiled faintly. "You're going to love this job." As Bruce followed Mobius deeper into the TVA, his mind burned with a singular purpose: to uncover the truth, dismantle this organization if necessary, and find a way to bring back his team. He had no idea what awaited him, but one thing was certain: he would stop at nothing to save his friends. Bruce Wayne, now reluctantly working with the TVA, was thrown into a world of chaos and intrigue. Mobius introduced him to the intricacies of the TVA, its mission to protect the sacred timeline, the Variance Authority's powerful timekeepers, and the multitude of variants that threaten the fragile balance of reality. Bruce listened intently but said little. His sharp intellect was constantly at work, analyzing every detail and trying to find weaknesses in the TVA's operations. Deep down, he knew he couldn't trust them. They pruned his team and erased his timeline. He had no doubt they would do the same to him if given the chance. Mobius led Bruce to the Time Theater, where clips from other universes played on a massive screen. Bruce watched as countless variants of the Justice League battled threats he had never dreamed of. There were timelines where Superman became a tyrant, where Wonder Woman led an apocalyptic war, and where Batman himself fell to the darkness. "You've seen what happens when timelines run wild," Mobius said, his tone measured. "You've seen the destruction, the chaos. We're the only thing standing between order and total collapse." "And yet you erased my team," Bruce countered. "You pruned my world because it didn't fit your version of order. What makes you any better than the threats you're supposedly protecting us from?" Mobius sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. "Bruce, I get it. You're angry, and you have every right to be. But the truth is, your timeline was unstable. It didn't lead to anything good. Not for you, not for your team, not for the multiverse." Before Bruce could reply, alarms blared throughout the TVA. A robotic voice announced, "High-level variants detected. All field agents to the war room." Mobius frowned, motioning for Bruce to follow. "Looks like we've got work to do." In the war room, a holographic display showed a timeline branching wildly out of control. "This is Earth 2027, an analyst explained. An alternate Justice League has fractured reality by merging with elements from the Injustice universe. Bruce scanned the data, his sharp eyes picking up every detail. He saw clips of Superman leading a dictatorship, Batman forming a resistance, and other heroes choosing sides. It was chaos on a global scale. "Let me guess," Bruce said, his tone dry. "You want me to clean up your mess?" Mobius smirked. "You catch on quick. Think of it as a chance to prove yourself." Bruce was outfitted with a temporal device that allowed him to navigate the timelines. The TVA provided him with minimal support, citing the need for discretion. As Bruce prepared for his mission, he secretly began to devise a plan to undermine the TVA from within. Bruce arrived in the injustice-twisted timeline, his Batman persona blending seamlessly into the chaos. He observed the fractured Justice League, noting how Superman's totalitarian regime had crushed dissent, while Batman's resistance fought in vain. The parallels to his own timeline were unsettling. As Bruce worked to stabilize the timeline, he encountered a variant of Wonder Woman who had allied with Superman. She attacked him on sight, accusing him of being a traitor. Bruce managed to subdue her, but the fight drew the attention of Superman himself. Bruce Superman's voice was filled with a mix of shock and suspicion. "You're not supposed to be here." "I'm not your Bruce," he replied, his voice cold. "I'm here to fix your mistakes." The two clashed in a brutal battle, with Superman's overwhelming strength matched by Batman's tactical brilliance. Despite his best efforts, Bruce was eventually overpowered and captured by Superman's forces. Back at the TVA, Mobius watched Bruce's struggle through a monitor, his expression troubled. Ravonna Renslayer entered the room, her presence commanding attention. "You shouldn't have sent him," she said coldly. "He's a liability." "He's also our best chance at stabilizing the timeline," Mobius countered. "You saw what he did in his own universe. He's a survivor." Renslayer scoffed. "Survivors are dangerous. If he learns too much, we'll have to prune him." Unbeknownst to them, Bruce had planted a hidden device during his mission that allowed him to access TVA systems. He discovered files revealing the TVA's dark secrets, including the truth about the timekeepers and the nature of pruning. Bruce's anger burned hotter than ever. He wasn't just fighting for his team anymore. He was fighting for every timeline the TVA had erased. Bruce Wayne awoke in a fortified cell within Superman's regime headquarters. The room was barren, save for the glowing restraints on his wrists and ankles designed to nullify movement. He had been stripped of his gadgets, but his mind remained his greatest weapon. Superman entered, flanked by guards, his cape billowing behind him. "You're not the Batman I knew," Superman said, his tone heavy with accusation. "But you're still meddling where you don't belong." Bruce met his gaze with cold defiance. "I could say the same to you. This world wasn't meant to be like this. You're not saving anyone. You're ruling through fear." Superman's eyes glowed briefly, a warning of the immense power at his disposal. "You don't understand what I've lost, what I've had to do." "Loss doesn't justify tyranny," Bruce shot back. "You've become the very thing you swore to fight against." Before Superman could reply, alarms blared throughout the facility. "Intruder alert!" a voice announced. The sound of distant explosions followed, shaking the room. Bruce smirked, knowing exactly who was behind the chaos. The cell doors burst open, revealing a battle-worn Wonder Woman from Bruce's pruned timeline. She cut through the guards with precision, her lasso glowing as it deflected their attacks. Behind her, Flash zipped through the hallways, disabling security systems at super speed. "Thought you could use some help," Wonder Woman said, tossing Bruce a makeshift grappling hook. Bruce quickly freed himself from the restraints. "You took your time," he said dryly, before stepping into the hallway. The trio began their escape, Flash scouting ahead while Bruce and Wonder Woman covered each other's backs. As they navigated the labyrinthine facility, they encountered Cyborg, his mechanical components sparking from battle damage. He had been fighting to free other prisoners and joined their group, updating them on the situation. "The regime is stronger than we thought," Cyborg said. "Superman's got every exit locked down." "Then we create our own exit," Bruce replied, already formulating a plan. The team reached the central control room, where they found Mobius waiting for them. He had used his TVA technology to infiltrate the timeline, bypassing Superman's defenses. "Nice to see you're making friends," Mobius said, his tone light but his expression serious. "We don't have much time. The TVA is on its way to prune this timeline entirely." Bruce ignored him, focusing on the monitors displaying the regime's forces. He quickly identified weak points in their defenses and relayed instructions to the team. "Flash, take out the main power grid. Cyborg, secure an escape route. Diana with me. We're confronting Superman. Mobius hesitated. "Bruce, if you don't leave now, you'll be pruned along with this timeline." "I'm not leaving anyone behind," Bruce said firmly. "Not this time." Bruce and Wonder Woman stormed Superman's throne room, finding him waiting with a contingent of heavily armed guards. Superman rose from his throne, his eyes burning with rage. "You should have stayed in your cell," he said, stepping forward. "I don't take orders from tyrants," Bruce replied, donning a stolen piece of armor to protect himself. The battle was fierce. Wonder Woman engaged Superman directly, her strength and skill matching his raw power. Meanwhile, Bruce took on the guards, using his makeshift equipment and tactical genius to even the odds. Flash's sabotage caused the power grid to fail, plunging the facility into darkness. Cyborg used the opportunity to hack into the regime's systems, creating chaos among their ranks. As Superman and Wonder Woman clashed, Bruce found an opening and used an electrified cable to temporarily immobilize Superman. "You're better than this," Bruce said, his voice laced with frustration. "Don't let your pain define you." Superman hesitated for a moment, the conflict evident in his eyes. But before he could respond, the sound of heavy boots echoed through the room. A squad of TVA Minutemen arrived, led by Ravonna Renslayer. "Everyone stand down," she commanded. "This timeline is being pruned." Bruce realized they were out of time. He turned to his team. "We need to get to the portal, now." The team fought their way to the TVA portal, the Minutemen hot on their heels. Superman, torn between his regime and the Resistance, ultimately allowed them to escape, his expression one of bitter defeat. As they entered the portal, Bruce glanced back at Superman. "There's still hope for you," he said before stepping through. On the other side, they found themselves back at the TVA. Mobius confronted Bruce, his expression a mix of relief and frustration. "You just had to make it complicated, didn't you?" Bruce ignored him, turning to his team. "We're not done yet. The TVA has to answer for what they've done." The TVA headquarters was in chaos. Alarms blared, and orange lights pulsed throughout the complex. Bruce Wayne, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Cyborg stood in the heart of the TVA's operations, surrounded by looming Minutemen and TVA hunters, their batons crackling with energy. Mobius and Ravonna Renslayer faced off against them, standing on a raised platform that overlooked the temporal timeline streams. Bruce assessed the situation, his calculating gaze darting between the enemies and the displays of branching timelines on the walls. He turned to his team. "We take this fight to he who remains. If we cut the head off the snake, the TVA falls." Mobius stepped forward, his tone firm but sympathetic. "You don't understand what's at stake. If you destroy he who remains, chaos will reign. The multiverse will unravel." "Then let it," Bruce said, his voice low but resolute. "The TVA has no right to decide who lives and dies, which timelines get erased, or who gets pruned. It's tyranny under a different name." Ravonna raised her baton. "You think you're heroes? You're just another variant anomaly that needs to be eradicated." Before she could strike, Wonder Woman's lasso of truth whipped out, wrapping around Ravonna and pulling her off the platform. The fight erupted. Cyborg's arm transformed into a cannon, firing concentrated blasts of energy at the advancing Minutemen. Flash zipped around the room, creating chaos as he disabled TVA hunters and disrupted their formations. Wonder Woman engaged Ravonna directly, their clash of might and skill shaking the room. Meanwhile, Bruce focused on the console controlling the TVA's systems. "Cover me," Bruce barked as he began hacking into the system. His eyes scanned the code, searching for vulnerabilities. Mobius hesitated. He didn't want to fight Bruce and his team, but he knew the consequences of their actions. "You're making a mistake, Bruce," he said. "If you kill he who remains, you'll unleash something far worse. That's a risk I'm willing to take, Bruce replied, without looking up. Better chaos than oppression. Cyborg blasted through a wave of Minutemen, creating a protective barrier around Bruce. We're running out of time, Bats. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. The team pushed forward, fighting their way through the TVA's labyrinthine halls. Finally, they reached the golden elevator leading to He Who Remains Citadel. The doors slid open, revealing a serene chamber where He Who Remains sat at his desk, watching them with a bemused expression. Well, well, He Who Remains said, standing up and clasping his hands behind his back. You've made quite the mess of my TVA, but I suppose that's to be expected. Variants tend to be disruptive. Bruce stepped forward, his jaw clenched. You've manipulated time and lives for too long. It ends here. He Who Remains chuckled, shaking his head. You think this is about me? This is about balance. Without the TVA, the multiverse will spiral into infinite war. Countless lives will be lost. Superman's voice cut through the tension. And how many lives have you taken to maintain this so-called balance? He Who Remains smirked. Touché. The confrontation turned violent as He Who Remains activated his defenses. Mechanical sentinels emerged from the walls, and temporal anomalies twisted the battlefield. The Justice League fought valiantly, their teamwork shining as they coordinated their attacks. Flash used his speed to disrupt the Sentinels, creating openings for Wonder Woman and Cyborg to strike. Bruce, meanwhile, focused on reaching He Who Remains, using his grappling hook to navigate the shifting terrain. You're just delaying the inevitable, He Who Remains called out, his calm demeanor cracking as the Justice League closed in on him. Finally, Bruce reached the central console, where He Who Remains stood. The two faced off, the weight of countless timelines hanging in the balance. You're no different from the villains you fight, Bruce said. You've justified every atrocity in the name of order. He Who Remains smiled sadly. And what will you do when chaos consumes everything? Will you take my place? Bruce didn't answer. Instead, he slammed an EMP device onto the console, disabling the Citadel's systems. With the TVA's systems down, the timeline began branching uncontrollably. He Who Remains looked at Bruce with a mixture of pity and admiration. You think you've won, but you've only started a war you can't control. At that moment, Superman appeared, having fought his way through the Sentinels. His eyes glowed with rage. This ends now. He Who Remains raised his hands in surrender. Killing me won't solve anything. It'll only create more chaos. Superman hesitated, the weight of the decision clear on his face. But before he could make his choice, Bruce spoke up. Clark, don't do it. We can find another way. Superman looked at Bruce, his expression conflicted. I've seen too many lives lost because we hesitate. In one swift motion, Superman unleashed his heat vision, killing He Who Remains. The Citadel began to crumble as the timelines fractured beyond repair. The Justice League escaped the collapsing Citadel, returning to the TVA headquarters to find it in disarray. Mobius approached them, his expression grim. You've done it. The TVA is gone, but so is the safety net that kept the multiverse from tearing itself apart. Bruce looked at his team, determination in his eyes. Then we'll fight for every universe. We'll stop the chaos, together. The Justice League standing in the ruins of the TVA, preparing for the battles to come as the multiverse descended into chaos.